Well, what is going on, guys, and welcome into the video. Well, Michael Burry just sold out of everything, basically holding only a small position in just one stock, and his tweet basically saying we are having a repeat of 2008 all over again was sent right during the time he dumped everything. And unfortunately, guys, I have to say there are things that I completely agree with him about. So I will give you my thoughts and work through the actual facts of all this, and then I will discuss where I agree with him completely and where I think if you are a long-term investor, you can also agree with him as well. Yeah, I'm not kidding, guys. There's actually spots where all of us can agree with him. I just ask in exchange for you to gently tap that like button and consider subscribing too. It's super easy to do if you like the truth without the hype. All right, so here's the thing. I have to give him credit because he has been right recently so far. He shorted Tesla at $1,200 and was right, which really upset a lot of people as Tesla fell big time right after that. And he also predicted inflation was coming 6 months before it actually hit. And he was spot on about Bitcoin tanking at almost the exact level it peaked. I mean, seriously, if you had Bitcoin or any other crypto and you listened to this guy, you saved yourself from that epic meltdown that it's been on. Talk about basking in the glory of timing the market perfectly. But here is the truth about his performance that you need to keep in mind, and I will tell you exactly where I completely agree with him as well. But his guesses about crashes have been remarkably terrible every single time except for the housing market collapse, and I have to give him full credit there. He was way ahead of everyone else on that and absolutely saw things that nobody else saw. But he actually did not bet against the stock market. He actually bet against the subprime mortgages, so let's be very clear there as well. But even if we let that fact slide, he was correct overall. But outside of that, he has been remarkably and consistently wrong time and time again. And by wrong, I mean the market rallied when he said it was going to crash and go to oblivion, and you missed out on a literal fortune if you listened to him over the past decade. He said the market was crashing in 2015, and then again in 2017, and then again in 2019, and although he didn't predict the illness crash because, nobody could have seen a once-in-100-year health event, he just couldn't help himself after the market crashed because of the global shutdown, and he predicted an even larger crash was coming at the very bottom of the 2020 illness crash, basically exactly where the bottom was set during that time frame. He bet it was going way lower and was crashing to epic proportions, and the market just took off into one of the most epic bull runs in the history of the stock market. So he has basically predicted a market crash every other year for almost a decade now and has been wrong every single time. I mean, horribly wrong. Literally, his timing could not have been any worse.
But Luke, what about this crash? You just said he was right.
Oh, you're right. I did say that. But he has been right and wrong too during this time as well, so it's not like his record is just spotless. Calling for a crash every other year for a decade and eventually being right is one thing. Making money and choosing the right investments during that time is something else altogether. So his tweets have been right for the most part, but his moves in his fund have been actually iffy at best. I mean, yeah, he got Tesla right, and as a long-term investor, I thought Tesla was overvalued at $1,200 at the time too, and I was very happy we got an overreaction to the downside because of all the fear and inflation and sell it all and this indicator and that chart and all that other garbage like that. It just got louder as we had the worst first 6 months in the stock market in over 50 years. That just smelt like an opportunity to me, and many of you all out there as well, you guys smelt that same thing. And my group was going nuts with buys in Tesla and a ton of other stocks in June when everybody else was saying, don't buy, it's dropping another 50% or whatever the fear was at the time. Which if you want access to those buys in real time and access to me and a group of 6 and 7 figure investors helping you cut through all that garbage and all that noise and actually see the opportunity that's in front of you, and you want access to 4 courses and hundreds of videos and a ton more, check out the pinned comment if you're interested and at least see what's offered down there. So Michael Burry got his Tesla call right, but so did those who ignored the hype when it was at all-time highs and instead bought the fear in the 600s. So it's not like he was ahead of those folks that did that. But on the flip side, nobody talks about his Apple bet he made during this time as well. I mean, you guys know Apple is my favorite all-time stock. They are the best run company in the world, and obviously they are the biggest company in the world. And yet, in the middle of May, he took out a massive, and I mean a massive short position on Apple. And what did Apple do in response when he took out that position? Well, it rallied almost 30% since he made that bet. Any deleted tweets about that miss by Mr. Burry? No, no. Oh, what about any doubling down from him, since obviously Apple must be mega overvalued now since it's rallied big time since he made his bet? Any news coverage or YouTube coverage of that bet that obviously was horribly wrong? No, there was nothing from Michael Burry or the media or YouTube for that matter about him losing a lot of money for his investors. But, let's not let facts get in the way of a good fear narrative to get you to click on. Market crashes are part of the normal cycles in the stock market, just like recessions are for the economy. So predicting one every other year for a decade and finally get it right doesn't make you a genius. It makes you basically a dead clock since they're right twice a day, which is actually better than being right once a decade. Seriously, the guy is right like 10% of the time, even if you give him credit for this current crash, which he has made some great bets and some terrible bets on as well. So for me to blindly go and follow him now into the pit of oblivion that the mother of all crashes is here, despite the fact that we are already in a crash, would be foolish in my opinion. And the same thing goes for Jeremy Grantham and all those other folks like that who are all over the media talking about how they predicted this crash too, and it's only going to get worse from here. We're just getting started. Except that he has predicted the mother of all crashes since 2011. Seriously, he puts out a big annual newsletter and it has laid out the case for the mother of all crashes almost every year since 2011. I'm not kidding, guys. You cannot make this stuff up. But, the media puts him out there and all of a sudden now he's some sort of an expert of some sort or something like that on what's going on now. But let's just say that they are right and the market does fall another 50% like they say. Here's the truth with that. I'm still ahead of everyone who took those guys' warnings way back in 2011 when they started predicting the mother of all crashes is coming or whatever. Think about that for just a second. Even if the market falls another 50% from here, not all-time highs or anything else, but from right now when we are in a confirmed crash, we are actually still beating all those guys. Simply investing consistently instead of listening to these guys' warnings means I'm still ahead even if the worst case happens. Even if he is finally right this time and all the doomsday predictions and all that stuff actually come true, for real this time. Despite all of that, I am still ahead by not listening and continuing to invest. Even if I didn't take into account Michael Burry's iffy performance during this time, getting some calls right and some calls wrong, it doesn't matter. I'm still way ahead.
But Luke, what about him selling his portfolio out completely? You only do that if you believe the market is going to crash a lot more, right? I mean, actions speak louder than words or tweets.
I guess so. I guess you're right. But it also happens if you're a trader and it's a Tuesday and the chart says stocks are overextended in the short term, so you are taking profits and closing those positions to trade on something else. That's also true. But I'm not a trader, so I don't care. Talk to me when Warren Buffett sells, otherwise it's not relevant to what I'm doing at all. Oh yeah, and by the way, if he truly felt the market was crashing a lot further, why did he buy in the first quarter of this year when he was screaming this was the beginning of the ultimate meltdown? And now that I think about it, he is selling, but at least in his filing so far, it only showed him the selling of those stocks. But if you thought the market was going to melt down even more epically, why wouldn't you sell those positions and then short them? That's a mystery. Now, having said all of that, I do agree with Michael Burry on this. I agree completely with some of his stock picks last quarter. I mean, he bought Meta and Google, and I have been loading the boat on both at ridiculously cheap prices. And he is not buying unless they are on a stupid, incredible discount, and clearly even the big bad perma bear thought they were cheap enough to take a long position in those stocks. But that is where the agreement stops right there. I'm not a trader. I'm a long-term investor. And long-term investors who just DCA into the S&P, nothing fancier than that, absolutely crush his returns over the long run, even if you include the great financial crisis and this crash as well. So I'm not concerned at all about what he is saying. Those guys are never fully right, and even if they actually are this time, I know it will be another once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to buy great stocks at great prices and make a huge fortune on the back end. So either way, we are all in a win-win situation if you're a long-term investor. And when the market recovers, and it will recover, guys, don't worry about that, pay attention. These guys will all be out there telling you it's fake and the real mother of all crashes is just right around the corner, and we'll repeat that message for the next decade while we are all busy making a lot of money. And then when the market finally does crash again, they'll be geniuses again, despite being wrong for the previous decade, again. So hopefully this was helpful, and if you don't know how to get a price target or how to do a valuation and want a step-by-step process for doing that, building wealth, and you want direct access to me and much more, remember to check out the pinned comment down below to become a member and at least look at everything you get. And click this video here for the stocks I'm still buying in this market, and click here for exactly what I'm doing to make huge money in this market. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.